2012 was a far more fleshed out year for the store, with the games Sakura Samurai, Art of the Sword, and Dylan's Rolling Western kicking things off in February. There was always something about Dylan's Rolling Western that just felt lame as hell. Like, oh, you have parents that love you? Well, I have Dylan's Rolling Western. A tower defense game starring an armadillo. It is Halloween. This one is actually pretty clever with its gameplay. I do like how it takes a genre primarily known for a top-down view and turns it into a heavily character-based third-person action game. You run around the area before sunset to gather resources and prepare for enemies to show up. It's solid, albeit can get monotonous at times. But this was a fine little eShop title, a fun, one and done. They got 3 damn entries. He even appears in Smash Brothers as an assist trophy. Like, what did you do to earn this?
I am so sorry.
You know, after thinking about it, a lot of the 3DS eShop games are like this. Games with a solid base, but don't go too far with it, and they can end up feeling a bit repetitive, which is sort of my feelings on Sakura Samurai. It has tons of style and personality. The gameplay is about samurai combat, dodging and striking at the right time, but that's kind of it. It's not bad at all. In 2012, this was a must-have on the eShop, but it felt more like a must-have because what else were you playing at the time? Good little game by Nintendo that got really damn high review scores, like Quetzal's Corridors. This is just damn hole in the wall. Move the shape to fit in the hole. What? Like, Jesus, guys. I mean, I like the smaller Nintendo games as much as the guy right next to me.
Don't look too deep into that.
But why were we acting like these games were saying something profound? Now, Quetzal's Corridors is actually the sequel to Through Space on WiiWare, which we got a similar situation with Fluidity Spin Cycle. Fluidity on WiiWare was all about controlling water. Yep, video games are the best. Fluidity Spin Cycle takes that concept and gives it more character. Meet Eddie. He's a water. You tell your system back and forth to control where the giant puddle goes, and in some stages, you have to move the entire handheld upside down. Yeah, kinda cool idea, but in practice, who the hell wants to do this? I'd say the best Nintendo published eShop game in 2012 was from the same series as last year's. We got a follow-up to Pushmo in the form of Crashmo, the Mo series. This looks very similar, but plays a whole lot different. Basically, now blocks fall when there's nothing underneath to support them, and just that one change is enough to make me feel like an idiot. This is way harder now. It's still really damn good, but I wouldn't recommend this to somebody if they haven't already played Pushmo. Now, that wasn't it for Nintendo's eShop releases in 2012. Did we really forget Sparkle Snapshots 3D?
Not yet.
So this was a photo editing app Nintendo put out where you can make your pictures look like a website from the 90s. A lot of this is just something I can already sort of do in the stock 3DS camera app, so like, why would I spend $6 on this? Well, it seems that all the value is spunk-based. I mean, if you really dive in, I'm sure you'd find a photo editor with more in-depth tools, but the furthest I made it was less rock sticker deep. They upgraded the Pokédex 3D application to 3D Pro, containing far more Pokemon, pretty much all of them up to that point. It's a great resource for numbers. You even get a little Pokemon quiz you can take along with AR functionality. This is an awesome free update. Hell, I pay $1 for it. 15 times in a row. Yeah, $15 for this is a lot, especially when you could grab 2 or 3 of the other eShop games I just mentioned for that price. And this isn't even a game. It's a resource on the way to fictional dragons. Like, $14? Maybe. This released in the fall, alongside Pokemon Black 2 and White 2 releasing on the Nintendo DS. Pokemon Black and White already released like the same month the 3DS did. It just felt like Pokemon was avoiding the 3DS at all costs. Yeah. To make up for Black 2 and White 2 only being DS games, they launched Pokemon Dream Radar for $3. You could capture Pokemon with your 3DS camera and transfer them to Black and White 2. Oh man, apology accepted. See, the Pokemon company is just like me. They're trying to find an excuse to justify this thing. Now, a big Nintendo eShop moment in 2012 was the introduction of full-fledged downloadable retail games, starting with New Super Mario Bros. 2 being offered day and date in stores and on the eShop. Standard practice now, sure, but this was completely new territory for Nintendo at the time. Everybody give it up for the 45-year-old man with nothing wrong with him getting out of the chair he's been sitting in for his entire life just because he felt like it. A good handful of indie titles filled up the rest of the year, with Mutant Mods headlining it. Now this was the 3DS eShop game, one of the first I think of right alongside Pushmo. A 2D platformer where you go between the background and foreground, a concept originating from Virtual Boy Wario Land of all things. Perfectly executed with the 3D display here. The gameplay is so damn simple. You just slowly walk, jump, shoot your weapon, hover in the air for a few seconds. That's pretty much it. But the simplicity isn't a bad thing. It's nice to have a game that knows what it is and takes advantage of that, offering an ultra-refined experience similar to what we got on the NES and SNES, so now with the mentality of modern-day game design. And as a player, man, I just like having some games I can always jump into and play without having to remember the controls or objectives. Mutant Mods was always a safe bet for me to pick up and play if I didn't know what I wanted out of life, and it always did the job. But its simplicity does make it harder to stand out when it's not seen as an early 3DS eShop game. This got more attention because of that. If it launched right now for Xbox, nobody would be talking about it. But see, that's the beauty of early titles in a system's life. They stand out more, and being an early adopter can inspire you to try some games you may not otherwise.
Be honest.
Would you? Birdmania 3D. This was always from my personal digital 3DS game collection, and the only reason it was ever notable was its insanely cheap price. Only $2. At the time, that was about the cheapest you could get on 3DS without going flat out free, and damn it, that is the best way to describe Birdmania. Outside of Birdmania. I mean, it's a high score based game that you'd find everywhere on the iPhone back in the day. The core of a fine game is there. It works and is fun enough for what it is. But this isn't the type of game that's meant to be reviewed. It's a type of game that's meant to be consumed and forgotten about after a 10-minute play session, and for 2 bones, I mean, it depends what you really value. Junk food or a healthy organic feast coated in pesticide. Colors 3D was another one I owned, which I got a fair amount of mileage out of. It was basically just a simple paint program, though you could use different layers to create 3D art. Get those sensors ready.
It's the word f***, I swear.
Crimson Shroud was definitely one of the meteor offerings, created by Level 5. It's a tabletop RPG, and that's the nicest thing I can say about it. The Dempa Men, developed by Genius, who develops a lot of the Pokemon spin-offs. They made 3 of them. Bomb Monkey, Art of Balance Touch, Zen Pinball 3D, Order Up, Mad Dog McCree.
It's a boy? Yeah, cool.
Definitely a step up from the eShop's first year, but that didn't stop 2012 from being the eShop's first year too. When the Wii U released in November of 2012, its very own Nintendo eShop came right alongside it. No waiting this time, everything was here and accounted for. Most retail games were offered as digital downloads, a handful of eShop-only releases, though no virtual console titles yet. Those would come within the next few months. This layout was definitely way smoother and less restrictive than the 3DS eShop. You could use the left or right sticks to move the page up or down, the D-pad to go panel by panel, or the touchscreen to go damn near anywhere. If we were timing this, let's just say you wouldn't be talking shit. Eventually, they added this little slot machine game to play before the eShop fully loaded, featuring all the icons from the games you own. I love the loading screen game, and with how damn slow the Wii U is at times, this went from cute addition to borderline necessary. It also helps the Wii U eShop stand out as a store. And now we wait for the competition's response. Only a few games exclusive to the Wii U eShop at launch. Most notably, we got Little Inferno. It's made by the same guys who whipped up World of Goo back on WiiWare, which was often considered the best game on the Wii Shop channel. That title showcased how this development team exceeded at physics-based puzzle games. Though Little Inferno is more so a physics-based puzzle toy. It's just about lighting different objects on fire and combining multiple objects to burn at once that match these little cues, and I love it. This is the perfect game for the Wii U, as you're using the touchscreen to control the fire and place items while everybody on the TV can see what you're doing. I find these types of experiences are what the Wii U does best, next to Ringworm. Nano Assault Neo was a pretty standard shoot 'em up. Mighty Switch Force Hyperdrive Edition was just Mighty Switch Force in HD with hand-drawn sprites, which leaves Chasing Aurora and Trine 2, with this being one of the most AAA indie releases at the time. And you know what? That was a perfectly serviceable selection of eShop games. The Wii U's launch had stuff to play, in the same way your dad says, "What do you mean there's nothing to do? The gutters need cleaned." But this was a fine enough start to the second variation of the Nintendo eShop, and moving into 2013, we were about to experience our first full year of both 3DS and Wii U digital stores simultaneously.
And absolutely nothing's gonna stop us from doing so.
Hey everybody, Geriatrics here, therapist at the Think Barrel. Mental health's been on an upswing lately, and therapy profits are in the gutter. So I thought I'd do my part and get a second job telling the news again. So if this report traumatizes you, thanks bud, means a lot. If you start seeing things, you know who to call. We return to this hour's update on Throat Watch. Reports of dangerous substances such as lithium-ion batteries being hidden in Halloween candy have been lowered to a concerning 1. Resident Rex Moz can be seen here eating shit. Wow, what I would give to be not him. And unlike somebody who doesn't have the exclusive interview with the brave cameraman who captured the whole thing, I do.
Yeah, it was crazy. First thing I did, contact the news station, show them the tape.
Rex Moz is now in critical condition. Detectives found this half-eaten battery on the scene, leading them to the culprit. Battery acid poisoning. Lock your doors at night.
Should really stop labeling my stuff like that.
Please!
911! Somebody just broke in!